Hello YouTube, and welcome back to another episode of Discuss, the series that aims to prompt discussion regarding certain elements of video games. Sorry I didn't do one last week, I was a bit busy. But yeah, today we're going to be looking at emergent game mechanics, or more precisely accidental emergent game mechanics, because sometimes the deliberate and the developers try to encourage them by including things like scripting languages and that in the game. What do I mean by emergent game mechanics? In case you don't know, that's basically when interactions of simple game mechanics or quirks in a game's engine will lead to something that the developers didn't intend being invented. So, for example, strafe jumping in, I don't know which Quake it was, might have been the original Quake, but anyway, it was originally a bug in the code which allowed you to gain more speed by a certain method of jumping. And rather than patching it or whatever, they just left it in because it was so popular, and it's actually in the games that followed it as well. So it changed the fabric of the game and how it was actually played, and that's what I find so interesting about this topic and why I just wanted to discuss it, and generally why I think it's so good. So another example, also in first-person shooter, featured quite heavily in Quake too, is rocket jumping. Now, rocket jumping is a really abstract concept. I mean, can you imagine you're all sitting around and you're pitching game ideas, and you've never heard of rocket jumping before, and someone suggested that you fire a rocket at your feet to increase jump height. You'd think they're completely insane, but from a gameplay perspective, it actually does work, and I don't think it could have been invented any other way other than by being an emergent mechanic. And obviously rocket jumping is an abuse of the physics of the knockback of explosions. And the first games to actually feature it were Marathon, which I believe, don't quote me on this, but I think you can actually get for free. It's a very old shooter, it's made by Bungie. And Rise of the Triad, which were apparently released on the same day, which is a pretty weird coincidence. But now, I mean, rocket jumping, that's a standard feature among first-person shooters. Not all of them, obviously. It's not exactly a realistic idea, is it? But I mean, it's in Team Fortress 2. It's in pretty much any fast-paced shooter that you can think of that doesn't require to do a lot of aiming down sights and stuff like that. But yeah, kind of the point of this. This is a very short video, I've just realised. Oh well, no point dragging it out. But basically, why do I think these are so good or important? Well, like I said earlier, usually they end up being really abstract concepts and things that I don't think anyone would have thought of otherwise, and they've sort of prompted a development of mechanics that are there because players found them and they use them because they're fun and they're effective, as opposed to making sense. And they're often given stories of why they work later. And I mean, I've got a few other examples here that I wanted to read out. I'd love to hear about any emergent mechanics you've experienced, by the way, because I'm sure I won't mention all of them. But yeah, like skiing, for example, in the original Tribes, that's actually something that's come to define the series as a whole. In the original Tribes, it was actually a bug where if you rapidly jumped up and down hill, you'd gain a lot of speed, and that came. Hold on. Eventually, someone actually scripted that, so you could, I assume, just hold a button. Of me being only 19, I've never actually played the original Tribes, but I saw someone who actually played it at a LAN party back when it was popular. Apparently, it took 20 minutes to set up the proper scripts to run it and do all the proper skiing and stuff, and that's dedication, that is. And I'm glad that that they actually carried that through to the rest of the series. Yeah, a few of the mechanics as well. There's Dota and denying. Now, I'm not sure about this one, but I can't imagine that denying was in the original design document, because that's quite an odd choice, to actually kill your own men to prevent the enemy from getting money. Deus Ex, using sticky mines as ladders, and I know there's one particular objective where you can put loads of sticky mines on a wall, climb to the top of a building and actually snipe the guy that you're trying to kill and completely bypass everything else, which is fantastic. That's great. I bet the first person who found that felt like a bit of a god. Now onto more general stuff. There's things like sequence breaking and bug abuse for speedruns. Obviously, those bugs weren't intended to be there, but people have found a good use for them, and often they take a lot of skill to execute. Like if you ever watch a speedrun of Castlevania Symphony of the Night, now that's my favourite game and I can play that forever, but I think the fastest run I've seen is something like 13 minutes, and the guy's falling through the floor everywhere and using dodgy teleports and all sorts of stuff. And then you've got things like pacifist runs, and all these things have added playability, and it's stuff that we all have to talk about and watch, which wouldn't have been there if we all just did what the developers intended. So yeah, I think I'll probably leave it there. As I said before, I'd like to hear about any emergent mechanics that you've experienced, if you enjoyed them, if you thought they ruined the game, because that's obviously the converse effect. If it's something that the developer didn't intend, it may just completely destroy the balance of the game and be quite harmful to the experience. So yeah, this has been Harvey from WhoKnowsGaming. If you enjoyed this video or found it interesting, leave a like and or subscribe. If you didn't, then don't. Goodbye.